Hi, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah. Hey, good morning, everyone. Our chairwoman is having some technical difficulties, but will be on her way. So, Mr. Strickland, do you mind stepping in as chair until she's able to sign in and join us?
No, that's fine. We're ready to start.
All right, then. Yeah, with that, I think we're ready to roll.
Okay, we have a quorum.
It appears we do. Yes.
Okay. In compliance with notification requirements of Ohio's open meeting law and section 101.021 of the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by roll call vote. Recusal from any case due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the beginning of the presentation. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting has the opportunity to be heard, virtual attendees will use the raised hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raised hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile versions and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before speaking. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raised hand icon again and mute your microphone. Call-in users can unmute by using *6. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube. All requests to speak on a particular matter submitted through proper channels have been considered. Communication with members of this body must follow proper channels for consideration. Any comments received by the stated deadline are collected by Landmark staff and disseminated to the commission members prior to any scheduled meeting. Dan, if you want to go through the procedures.
Sure thing. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The chair will call each agenda item and then each applicant will be invited to proceed through their presentation. Each presentation should be completed prior to questions and comments from the commission in order to facilitate a smooth presentation. Once the presentation is concluded, the chair will ask Landmark staff to summarize design review committee recommendations and any public comment received. The deadline for public comment is noon on the Tuesday prior to any regularly scheduled Cleveland Landmarks Commission meeting. Any received comments are distributed to commission members prior to the meeting. Staff will also identify any members of the public present and scheduled to speak. Public comment is allowed at the discretion of the chair, and any individual providing public comment is permitted 2 minutes to speak to the agenda item in which they have an interest. The chair will then request a recommendation from staff. The commission will then begin deliberation and project review. Any commission member, except the chair, may make a motion at any point after an agenda item has been called.
All right. Thank you, Dan. We'll call the June 27th, 2024 Landmarks Commission meeting to order. Dan, please call the roll.
I thank Mr. Chair. Ms. Anderson? Mr. Dreyer?
Here.
Mr. Dulick? Councilmember Gray? Director Wong? Mr. Lozier?
Here.
Mr. Sambry? Mr. Strickland?
Here.
Mr. Trosick?
Here.
Dr. Williams?
Here.
And Ms. Trapp. All right. Mr. Chair, we do have quorum. In addition to the commission members, I'd also like to note that we have Patricia Aston and Sierra Lipscomb here from the Law Department, and Carl Brunges, Jessica Beam, and myself from the Landmarks office present.
All right. Thank you very much. Referring to the agenda, we'll start with the certificates of appropriateness. We'll start with case number 24-042, Clifton West Boulevard Historic District, 3592 West Boulevard window replacement. Would the representative for this project please introduce yourselves and tell us about your project?
Good morning,
Just-
members.
Sorry to pop in, just a point of order. We this was tabled previously, so we do need to untable it before we go through the presentation.
All right, so I'll ask for a motion to remove the project from the table.
I'll move that we remove the project from the table.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
All right, you got that, Dan?
Got it. Yep.
All right. We have a motion and a second. No further discussion. Please call the roll.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Dreyer,
Yes.
Mr. Lozier,
Yes.
Mr. Strickland,
Yes.
Mr. Trassick,
Yes.
Dr. Williams.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Chairman, the motion passes. It's untabled, so
All right. Thank you. Now, if the project representative would please introduce themselves and tell us about your project.
Good morning, members. My name is Mr. Simity from Show Roof Construction Company. We're replacing the windows on the house on West Boulevard. We're replacing them with a vinyl replacement windows with grids in them. If you notice the front, this is the front of the house. Those two windows are double hung with the grids on it. So we're replacing it with the same window with that vinyl replacement windows. If you go to the next, those are the two fronts that we're replacing with the double hung and the grids. The leaded glass, this is staying. And also this glass block is staying that was originally there. We're not replacing the gladded, I mean, this stained glass. We're not replacing those. So if you go to the next one, okay, that we're replacing this double hung with an existing double hung, which shows next to the right. And if you go to the next one, because I guess they wanted me to do each windows and show what we're putting in. This top window, we're not replacing. It already has a replacement window on there from the past, I guess. And it's a vinyl window, a slider, and it's a color tan, which we're going to do ours in tan too. I just couldn't find a window that color. It's like a tan color to match this here. If you go to the next one, the house has like 4 different type of windows that they had on there. If you go to the next one, the next slide. Will I switch these or? Okay. These 2 windows also double hung. We're replacing them with the existing, with this window that we're showing to the right. We're replacing these 2 double hungs and keeping the grids on it to keep it the historical look. Huh? Yeah. Okay, now on the left side here, we're not replacing, we're replacing all the other windows in a double hung. One of the one of the members on the last meeting was inquiring about the case, how that wood window is a casement window and would like to keep that on there, which we decided to do it. Even though these windows were ordered already, me and the homeowner decided if he wants us to keep that casement look, we'll do it. That's not an issue. But the rest of these 2 here are just going to be double hung. These windows we're not replacing. They're already, these windows here are existing windows. So we're basically, the windows that we're replacing, we're matching the existing windows that were there. Like these 2 double hungs, we're gonna do just like the double hung to the right, or to match the existing ones that they have. Okay, this is the casement windows. I guess previous group, they were requesting if we could, go back with the casement windows, and we decided, if they want that, we could do that. It just means, I mean, we already have ordered a window for it, but we'll replace it with the casement. We don't have a problem with making those changes. And these are leaded, not being replaced. And the next one, Those two are being replaced on the back with the regular casements. And I think that's it. I think we covered everything. Yeah, this is the type of window that we're installing as a ViMAX. Good welded window with low E argon. The grids are going to be inside the glass. I've done a lot of houses on West Boulevard. Not really too much windows. I mostly did a lot of roofing and siding, and probably over 40 houses there. And we had to go to the council. You know, every roof we had to get a okay. I wasn't real particular. I mean, I was not knowledgeable enough on windows, which I probably should have called the historical board on it, but we basically, just so you know, we basically order the windows and we have the windows, but we're willing to make the changes on the casement windows. But we've had the windows for 2 months, 3 months already. I didn't think there was going to be we didn't think it was going to be an issue because there's already replacement windows on the house, and they're actually like 4 different type of windows on the house. There's glass blocks, there's sliders, vinyl replacements, there's double hungs. So we were just trying to match what is there with the replacement windows basically. And I think we got approved on the siding on the house already. We're just waiting for basically for the windows.
All right, so does that conclude your presentation?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And Dan, did this go back to the local design review committee?
No, Mr. Chairman, since it was tabled by the commission, it did not return to the local design review committee. Typically that only happens when things are, I guess, specifically remanded back to local by you guys. So it was tabled to allow the applicant the opportunity to provide a better understanding of what windows we were talking about. Because if you recall last time, there were questions about, whether there were casements or not, window types and locations and all that. So we do appreciate the cataloging that the applicant has done. That's very helpful. And just did want to remind everyone that as the applicant mentioned, the siding is included in this proposal. There weren't issues with it last time, but it has not officially been approved yet by you guys. So it is also part of this proposal. As always,
I think they approved. I'm sorry. I think they.
No, sir.
Oh,
It's
I'm sorry.
it's one proposal, one case number.
Oh,
This is the
okay.
body that makes that approval. So,
Okay.
so I guess as always, staff likes to see higher quality materials on the windows on the front and the street facing side, which in this case is the right side as it's being referred to. We always like to see the configurations match, and so we're appreciative that the change to the casement and that where the casement windows exist. So,
Okay.
yeah, so we, it's easier to understand what the proposal is compared to last time.
Okay.
And yeah, so.
All right, so is that your staff report?
Yes.
Okay. So, with that staff report, I will open it up for questions and comments from the commission. Dan, you'll have to help me out here with any hand raising.
Michelle has hers up.
All right, Ms. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple of questions. The double hung windows, in the written presentation we received, it says that it's going to be 6 grids on the top and 1 single pane on the bottom. I just want to confirm that that's the configuration that's going to
Yes.
be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like the older windows that are on there. The grids are only on the top. I'm sorry, I wasn't able to find a window photo that has it only on the top. So, but we are just doing the upper top. It says it like on the top here when we made
Yes.
our proposal. So I just couldn't find a picture of a window with just the grids on top. All I was able to find is one that has the grids on the upper sash and lower sash. But we're keeping the same scenario as it has on her other windows that we're replacing. It has the grids on top only, not on the bottom.
Thank you. I just wanted that clarification because I
Oh.
noticed that, you know,
Yeah,
in the
I'm
written-
sorry. I just couldn't find
And I
another
understand.
picture. Yeah.
I'm not sure if this came up before, but has the applicant explored using a higher quality window on those two sides that would be more in keeping with the look and character of the original house and of just the general West Boulevard area in general?
Yeah, well, we've looked at like the price difference of having them all wood window versus that, and I think the costs, it kind of oversees her budget. I think that she's I think she's divorced, going through a lot of issues and stuff like that. So her, you know, her issue with these windows is that she can't even open them up, none of them, just to get fresh air or anything in there. And she don't have central air, and it's hard for her to get any because the windows like even rattle when trucks go by, and she can't open none of them. The only one that she was able to force open was the front one to put an air conditioning unit, but the downstairs, none of the windows that we're replacing, you can't open them because they'll fall apart if you try to open them. They're that bad a condition.
Okay, appreciate that. I have one more question regarding that casement window.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we could get to the photo of the original and the proposed new window. Not sure what page that's on.
Oh, I can't do it. Oh. That should be on the side, like left or right. I think left and right
Well,
has it.
I guess I'll just
Carl
think
or
about it.
Jessica, can you page to that picture of the casement?
It's either right side or I think there's one on each side.
The
There. Oh, keep going.
that's it.
There it is, right there.
All
That's
right.
it.
There is a
Okay, I can hear the double talk. So just make sure you're muted and your video is closed off for right now.
the upper portion of the sash has like two grids and the bottom is a single. I take it you were not able to find something to match that? Because it
Yeah.
looks like there's 8 grids in each.
Yeah, they, you know, it's unfortunately like a lot of the window suppliers, they don't do their grids like that. Basically, it's either they could split it in half and just do the upper, just like it would be, instead of 2 in the sides, it would be 4, and do half only. Like, and then the other half would be just regular open. But to do them just like that in 3 sections, 2 on top and 1 on the bottom, they can't do that. We could take the casement and just do the grids on the top and leave the bottom. We could do that.
Is this a case where you couldn't find a picture to really mimic what you intend to provide?
No, because they don't, when they do the casements on any replacement windows or anything like that, they either do full grids or they do half grids.
What
This
do you
one
mean
here,
when you say half grids?
they'll do the upper sash in grids and the lower or both of them in grids. So like on this one here, they'll do just half of the window in grids. So they'll just do like the upper half to kind of match the existing window.
But it'd be four grids instead of
Yes,
two.
yes.
Ms. Anderson, do you have a comment with regard to what you'd like to see, the 8 or the 4/1?
The 4/1 would be preferable if they can't match it completely. I mean, obviously the ideal would be to match it, but 4/1 would probably be better.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I could definitely do that for sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
And there is siding on the house now, so you're just replacing it with a different color, correct?
Yeah, yes, we're matching. I think she had the garage done a few years ago, and I did have the picture in the last proposal showing the garage. It's a nice historical, like a greenish color with the beige, so it's gonna look nice with it. I mean, but I think in my other slide I had like the picture of the garage and showing what we're gonna do basically. So we're basically gonna match the garage.
Okay, thank you. Those are my comments.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Strickland, it looks like
All
Mr.
right.
Lozier has his hand
Yeah.
up.
All right. Mr. Lozier?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Staying on this casement window, have you all looked at repairing this existing window versus replacing it? I mean, it looks like it's in pretty rough shape, but
Yes.
these seem to be the only maybe original windows on the house. So I think my preference would be, is there a way to repair them versus replace them with something that isn't an exact match?
The only way we would probably have to remove them and take them to a carpenter. I mean, a window that have them basically, dub it, like basically make one to match exact. We would have to take the whole window to him, board it up, take it to him, and have him make one from scratch. We haven't researched that, what the cost would be on that. Because I
think that
don't
staff
even know
has-
I don't even know if she even ever opened those anymore, or they open.
Understood. I think I would maybe ask the applicant to look into that further with these existing casement windows. I understand that Landmark staff has developed a window toolkit that they could share with you related to an approach to repairing windows versus replacing. So that's my comment about these particular windows. Dan, if you're able to go to there's a side by side of the double hung looking at the front windows. I just want to make sure that I understand the intent for this one, yeah, the grid on here. So it looks like this is the existing are 8/1. Is the intent to replace these windows with 8/1 or with the 6/1 like the photo is showing?
Where's this file? The file. I think they might be 6, but I don't think so. I think they might be 8, because let me check my file, because they're kind of wider windows, so the
Yeah.
6 will look kind of funny. So I'm sure that that they did it in 8.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, that would be my recommendation is to for the number of divisions be consistent with what's
Yeah.
being replaced.
It's
So
gonna
in
be
this case, 8/1. Okay,
It's 8.
great.
It's 8.
Awesome.
Yep.
And then I
8.
have just one final question about the muntins. Are those sandwiched in between the glass,
Yes.
or are they applied to the face?
To the inside. No, they're inside the glass.
Okay, so typically we recommend that those be simulated divided light so that the actual grids are on the outside of the glass and not in between. That gives a more historical feel to sort of modern replacement windows. Is that an option?
I don't think they're I could call the manufacturer, but I think they did away with that because a lot of the grids outside they weren't holding up from the weather and they were snapping off and everything. So I'm pretty sure that I could confirm, but they stopped doing that. That's why either two things, either they'll do inside plastic ones inside, or else they'll insert in the glass. But outside, they're not doing those no more.
Gotcha. I guess my concern is that, again, we typically look for upgraded materials on primary facades, street facades of homes. And this would be a case where to echo one of my colleagues' comments, to look at upgraded windows on those street-facing facades, so that you are able to provide windows with the exterior divisions.
Okay.
So that would be those are my comments.
And if I may interject, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to, as a point of clarification, for the front of the house, we're only talking about replacing the second floor windows.
Yes.
Correct? Not the first floor.
No, that's all leaded.
Okay, that's
they're not touched. Yeah, and her porch is all closed in like that, so you can't even see those windows. She's more worried about like the sides, the upper bedroom, where she could open them up and actually get air going through the house.
So
There's
that,
certain windows that she can't even open at all, that they're just shut.
Right.
They're like falling apart. You can't even open them.
all right.
Like
so
I said,
Dana,
there's a lot of
clarifies your question.
there's like 4 different type of windows in that house that, replacement windows, glass back windows, older windows. Like in that side, you have replacements to the left and then a replacement on the top. The only 3 is the ones right there. The leaded ones we're not messing with.
All right, we
those-
understand that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we understood that from your presentation. Are there any other comments from commission members? All right, hearing none, I'll add my comments here. We've seen this project previously, and I understand the situation that the owner faces trying to improve their home. And we've seen instances, particularly along West Boulevard, where homeowners have used vinyl replacements. And so in this particular case, I can support the use of vinyl with the internal grids on all of the faces. That's my personal opinion. Seeing no further comments, I will entertain a motion.
Ms. Anderson has her
Ms.
hand up.
Anderson?
I did not want to make a motion. I had one more question.
Okay.
This is regarding the siding,
Okay.
and I'm not sure if this came up in our last discussion, but right now the siding goes right up to the edge of the windows, and I'm sure when this house was built, that's a great photo for this. There was probably a vertical trim piece.
Yeah,
Um,
well,
And I want to make sure that if there is a siding replacement done, that vertical trim piece is respected and restored.
yes, we're gonna leave that there. We're gonna restore that, and also on the windows, we're gonna do a small casing around the windows to match the garage on each of the windows.
Okay,
What they did here, they jump cased when they did the siding, so they didn't even, they did without, they got rid of the trim, which I'm gonna bring it back. So it just information, it probably doesn't mean anything, but I live on West Boulevard. I've been there 10 years. And I've done a lot of houses there, and believe me, she's one of there's a lot of neighbors and all that, and there's a few that really take care of their houses, including myself. And I try to keep the historical, just like my house. I'm never going to put siding on it, which I could, but I want to keep it historical looking, and I'm trying my best on it. But basically, I understand the whole concept of keeping the historical look, because I love that. I love the historical look. I live there. So, but yeah, and what she's doing, I think the house is still going to look nice. She keeps her house nice compared to a lot of other residents around the area, which I wish everybody did that, but I would like
All
to
right,
help her out and
we
get it done.
appreciate that, and you're restoring those casings with
Oh,
wrap
it would look
foil.
nice. Yeah, it's gonna look really nice.
And that will be in the cream color to match the window?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Ms. Anderson, for bringing up that question. I'm still looking for a motion.
I'll
Mr.
make a
Lowe.
motion. Thanks, Mr. Chair. I will make a motion to approve as presented with the recommendation that the applicant work with staff on opportunities to repair the existing casement windows rather than replacing them. So not a condition, but a recommendation.
Right. Very good. Understood. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chair, I'll second.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Tarasik. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead,
Um,
Ms. Anderson.
I just, I'm not sure who is the vendor for these windows, but I would like them to explore, somebody who can create a window with the exterior applied grids. I think they're out there. Probably this vendor doesn't have them, but I think I'd like to have that as part of the recommendation.
All right, understanding that these windows already exist. I mean, they ordered them and they've delivered 2 months ago.
Well, that it makes me, I feel bad. But the process is the process. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
Mr. Lozier, would you consider modifying your motion to add that recommendation?
Well,
I would, yeah.
All right. And was it Mr. Tarasik second?
Yes, I would.
Okay, thank you. All right, so with that modification, any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Dreyer,
Yeah, yes.
Mr. Lozier.
Yes.
What's that? Mr. Dulick, I see that you've joined us.
I apologize. I'm Jack Maxwell from Brilliant Electric Sign. My microphone was not working for a second there.
All
Sorry,
right,
Mr. Chair.
You're not up yet.
yeah, Mr. Dulick. Did
Yes,
you
as
wanna-
I was late, I will abstain.
Mr. Strickland,
Yes.
Mr. Trosick,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Yes.
and I see that Ms. Trott has joined us. Would you like to vote or abstain in this one?
I will abstain.
Okay. Mr. Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
All right. Thank you to the applicant.
With two
We look
abstentions.
forward to you, we look forward to you completing your project on West Boulevard. Thank you very much. With that, I'll turn it over to our very capable chairwoman to conduct the rest of the meeting.
Wow,
Thank you.
great statement. Thank you, Mr. Strickland. All right. Well, I apologize about my tardiness. I was in City Hall, but nobody else was. We will then move on to our next applicant, located 17720 Purtis Avenue, signage for Purtis Community Middle School. We'd like to welcome the applicant. Please announce yourself and tell us about your project.
I apologize. I spoke out of turn there. I am Jack Maxwell from Brilliant Electric Sign Company. And I apologize for anybody that I interrupted there. I was trying to mess with my microphone. No sound was coming out. And then I saw my project was up and I thought it was my turn to talk there. So my apologies. The applicant that used to work for us, Laura Wyoma Higgins, actually has moved on to a different industry. She has turned in her resignation, so I'll be doing the presentation for this. What we are presenting is a double face internally illuminated ground sign that will be replacing the current non-illuminated ground sign. As a grant from the state came over for all the Constellation schools in the Cleveland area and then a couple different areas. They got a grant for safety and nighttime lighting and stuff like that. So that's where they had went ahead and they wanted to go with illuminated signage to try and lighten up the area a little bit at nighttime, sidewalks and stuff like that, and then also have a safe presence for anybody coming at nighttime or in like the fall and springtime when it is gets a little bit dark early and then it's darker later in the morning. So they wanted to have the opportunity to use this grant to have the internally illuminated signage on site there. I believe there was a little bit of a question on what signs were going to be removed out of the front parcel in front of the school there. And the owner's representative of the school had informed me that really whatever signage is needed to be taken down at this point we're more than able to take it down. This is our main priority here, is getting this sign in place to be able to move forward with this project. This right here is just a couple different views of when you're pulling in and seeing where it is.
Was that the conclusion of your presentation, or did you have some other items you'd like to update us on, like the material of the sign and the height of the sign and so forth?
Yeah. On the height of the sign, there's going to be a 2-foot pole cover with a 4-foot cabinet. There will be plastic faces with second surface vinyl applied with all the wording and everything like that. It will all be LED internally illuminated. And then I think that was pretty much it on for that. The two logos at the top is the Constellation School logo, and then the actual logo of the singular school there at Puritas.
All right,
And then I believe that should be it.
excellent. Thank you for the presentation. Then we'll move on to feedback from the local design review committee or landmark staff recommendations, I guess.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just checking. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. So this did not go to the local design review committee. There was a little bit of snafus going on there and things getting through the process. However, this requires a variance for the proposed sign because it exceeds the 5-foot limitation in 350.13A, and then the minimum distance from all lot lines is 20 feet. 11 feet is proposed, so we have 2 variances needed. We want to confirm that the other signage is being removed. Stand by 1 second. So we have this one in the front, and then they do have a lot of signage on the building as well for enrolling. I think that's temporary signage. So is there a second sign? I think there was a second sign. Those are 2 different signs right there. Okay. So this is replacing the one at the bottom left. And then they have the front facing sign. I think we would recommend removing all the signage and just having this one since it will be illuminated. We typically don't recommend the giant white boxes because of the excessive amount of light that is shown, and because this has residential nearby, softening that glow would be better. And then we would need to request that there be some hours of operation because of that residential component here, that an hours of operation be set, particularly on weekday nights, and it could maybe be a little bit later or during events or something like that. But we would need some sort of item like that to be included here as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that report of recommendations. We'll then open up the floor to the commission for questions and comments. Mr. Strickland?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question has to do with the proximity of this sign relative to the existing sign, recognizing that a variance is needed for the setbacks. Does the existing sign meet the setback requirements, or is this essentially in a very similar location to the existing sign?
Is that a question for me?
Yes.
Okay, so for that, I apologize. For that, the sign that is closer to the residential is the one that this would be replacing. But the owner's representative, they are open to moving it across the sidewalk on the other side, so that way it wouldn't be as close to the lot line. So if that's something that the board is recommending, we're absolutely open to doing that to avoid a variance on that. I personally, it's been a little bit of a transition area here, and I personally was not made aware of that. That could have been addressed a little bit earlier if I would have been made aware, but this is probably on our company's end that it's just been a little bit of a transition period, that was not translated yet. So moving that over on the other side of the sidewalk there, I don't see being a problem whatsoever. And both signs of the other concern of both signs coming down, both signs can absolutely come down as well. the sign on the building, that would be temporary signage. That is correct, and that is just something that I believe only gets changed out every now and then. But I don't believe that when I was on location, I didn't see that there. So if it is there currently, I would have to discuss with the customer on when that will be coming down, as well as it is a temporary sign.
All right, thank you. Carl, can you clarify your comment regarding the setback from the lot lines? Did you say that was in two directions essentially? From the
Mr.
east line?
Strickland, one is for height and one is for setback.
Yeah, and the 11 feet, that is, so that's from the east lot line essentially? It has to be 20 feet?
From the south lot line has to be set back from the street 20 feet, and they're only proposing 11.
So with the applicant's explanation, he talked about moving it on the other side of the sidewalk, but not away from the street. So I'd like clarification on that.
Just as a point there, setting it back may interfere with the tree that's there on the other side, which could cause a problem. I think they'd have to relook at that a little bit more. Plus, with it on that side, you see all the shrubs there in the front. So this is highly blocked on that side either way. Or you can see where the second one, yeah. I think we have to look at locating it differently just because of the trees that are in the way as well.
Is staff recommending that we grant the requested variance?
I think we can request the granted variance, yeah. I think the issue is how much light is coming off of that and affecting the neighbors.
So just to clarify, you're saying staff is in support of the two variances, the height variance for from the 5 to the 6 feet and the setback variance from the 20 feet to 11. But you do have would like to change the color of the sign from the white with the blue letters, probably trying to draw this together to the configuration like the existing sign with the blue background and the white letters. Is that what you're saying, Carl? So that it's not as bright in the residential area?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. So does that help, Mr. Strickland?
Yes, but the applicant would have to address changing the color of the sign.
And with something like that, normally I don't like to. I always respect everybody's opinion and everything like that. But the reasoning for this grant is to illuminate the area a little bit like that. Being on a timer, I do see that being on a timer where it's only lit at certain times of the day, because I would say after 11 o'clock till about 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, there's really going to be no traffic going to the school for the most part. But the part or the reasoning for the illuminated signage was to try and illuminate the area a little bit for when there is foot traffic and anyone coming in there, just for a safety measure of things. So if it is at all, and taking the lettering from the blue to go into the white and making the background from white to blue, that is going to really dim down the sign. And that's why we were kind of open to moving it away from the house a little bit there to give a little bit more distance in between. And then also, like I said, having a timer, if there is a certain time frame that isn't of a concern. But if it is an absolute must to change the coloring, I guess we're going to have to work with it. But if at all possible, we would like to keep it on the color scheme. We are doing, I think there was 6 other schools in the area that we have in production right now with the white backgrounds. that we've gotten approved and had moving forward. And we would like it to kind of keep it all unison, everything all together in the same kind of look. But we're here to get your opinions and to get your approvals. So if that is something that is absolutely necessary, I guess we can get that changed, and see if we can get the customer to approve that, and then send over the drawings for your final approval on that. If that's how we see fit going forward.
Okay. Thank you for that feedback. Mr. Strickland, any other questions? No?
No,
All right.
no, thank you. I'll lower my hand. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Musson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to respond to the comment about the area kind of being dimly lit and all that. If the property owner wants to increase the level of light there, we're happy to work with them on a lighting plan for the property that would include photometric studies and all that. But signage typically shouldn't be used to light up an area. It should be used to inform passerbys of what is located there. And from all my experience with signage, white backgrounds with dark letters at night just sort of wash out the text. They will, it becomes a big white box and you don't even, you can't even read what it says. So our recommendation, like Carl said, is kind of flipping all the colors. It could have a white base, and then everything that you see that's blue would be white, and everything that you see that's white is blue, and the yellow ring could stay a yellow ring. But I guess just wanted to clarify a point on that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Musson. Ms. Anderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to say that I'm in agreement with staff regarding the white sign. I've driven past several, very nice, refined, historic buildings, schools, churches with these illuminated signs. And I find the bright illuminated signs to be kind of garish compared in relation to the usually very elegant, often classically designed buildings that they sit in front of. And this is a really beautiful building. So I also think that the original sign that's still being used, I think it's just a nicer design. So for a variety of reasons that have already been outlined by staff, I strongly feel that the white sign should be eliminated and substitute something that is more in keeping with the sign that's currently there. Maybe somehow you can incorporate the Lions logo into it, but I think it's a better design. And I agree with staff regarding the lighting. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Mr. Tarasik?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I apologize. There's something wrong with my raise hand feature. I agree with Ms. Anderson and with staff. I do have just one question, though, to the applicant, the representative of the applicant, and that was on the comment that was made. He made a comment that there are other signs with this same type of look with the white background that have been approved. Am I correct? Did I understand that correctly, sir?
Yes, we have a couple different areas that we were working in that we have already been approved on it through the city.
And is that for the same applicant?
Correct. Not this specific school, but other elementary schools that is under the Constellation name.
So is keeping, and I just want to be clear so that I understand, what you proposed here, is it the same type of, is it a branding issue? That's what I'm going for. Is it a branding issue that we have, or is it?
It is. That was what I was kind of getting at a little bit, was that the rest of the signs look exactly like this. So changing over to the different color scheme, it is going to be different from all the other schools. So that's what we were trying to avoid. Again, it's one of those things. We're here to work with you, and we want everybody's approval on this, and we do hear you loud and clear about the concerns with the washout and stuff like that. But with our with the application that we have on the second surface of the sign, stuff like that. We have had very good luck with that. So yes, it is in your question, and I apologize for going a little bit off track there, but in your question, yes, it is a little bit of a branding thing that we are trying to stick with. And that's why we were proposing the exact same sign, just different logos and name from the other locations that we have.
So it's and I'm not familiar with this, so I apologize. So is the Constellation Schools, but it's going to be, it's a different name on the other signs and different logos on the other signs?
Correct. Like we have a Constellation School, West Park Elementary. There is a Constellation School in Lorraine Park. That's in another city.
Okay.
But then we have East Side Arts Academy, Constellation School, East Side Arts Academy. So basically, like the Constellation School and the logo will always stay there. It's just the Puritas logo and then the Puritas Elementary Community Middle. That's the wording that would be changed in there.
Understood. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Trosick. Not seeing any additional hands. Would someone like to make a motion?
I have one question, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
The other signs, are they located in historic districts or not in historic districts? That's my question.
Oops, sorry. Go ahead.
I
Dan.
was just gonna say through the chair. That's the point I was gonna make. Some of these signs have been approved by the planning commission because they're not in historic districts or on landmark property. So this is the first one we're seeing from this company in a landmarked property. So, a little different than planning, or some of them might have been approved without design review. I'm not sure, but there are others going up.
Thank you, Mr. Musson.
Any additional questions from the commission? Or would someone like to make a motion?
Madam Chair, again, I apologize. My raised hand is not working. And I may have missed it. Does staff have an opinion with respect to the proposal by the applicant that the sign be moved to the opposite side of the sidewalk, which would move it further away from the residential area?
Through the chair, staff doesn't have strong feelings about the location. Moving it over. There are a number of obstructions there. There's the shrubs, there's the tree, then there's the cemetery a little more to the west. And then across the street is residential and some commercial. And so, moving it to the right or left or east or west a little bit probably doesn't make a huge difference. It's more just the wanting to ensure that it's not on all night. And we feel that, flipping the colors would just make it generally less bright and better for the people living nearby.
All right. Thank you.
All right. And Mr. Trosick, your hand is working. It's up. I just didn't know if it was, if you had by accident left it up or it had come down, just so you know. Mr. Strickland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I would propose a motion to approve the sign as presented with the approval of the variances for the height and the setback, with a recommendation that the applicant study and consult with the owner with regard to inverting the color configuration so that the blue be a background color with white letters as a not as a requirement, but as a consideration.
All right, so we have a motion, and did you also have the requirement to remove any additional signs?
Yes, if that's the recommendation of staff to avoid any redundancy in the signage, sure.
And then I apologize, I had a distraction here in my office. Did you also state the hours of operation?
No, and that, hours of operation be reviewed with staff, so that they're, appropriate in the residential neighborhood.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Strickland. So we have a motion on the table. Do we have a second? Mr. Tarasik, I don't know if your hand's up to second or to not.
I apologize, Madam Chair. No, that's not a second. I may have to sign out and come back in because my raised hand is not working.
Okay. So, Mr. Tarasik, I'm sorry, did you say you do second it or you or not? I apologize.
Yeah, I will second that.
All right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second? Any further discussion? All right, Mr. Musson, please call roll.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Dryer,
Yes.
Mr. Dulick,
Yes.
Mr. Lozier,
Yes.
Mr. Strickland,
Yes,
Mr. Trasick,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Yes.
and Ms. Trott.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
All right, excellent.
Thank
Mr.
you so
Lozier,
much, everybody. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Good luck with your project.
Thanks. Have a great day.
You too. Before we move on to the next applicant, Mr. Lozier, I did see your hand up as we were taking, about to take roll. Was there something you would needed to state before we move on?
I just wanted to reiterate, it doesn't change my vote, but just wanted to reiterate that what staff and Mr. Musson had mentioned about signage not being an appropriate means to provide site lighting. And I think the motion captured that, but just wanted to reiterate that on the record.
Excellent. All right, thank you for that. Then we will move on to our next applicant, located at the East Side Hospice House, located at 18425 Lakeshore Boulevard, the demolition of accessory buildings and new construction. I'd like to welcome the applicant. Please announce yourself and tell us about your project.
This is Bill Finn. I'm the president and CEO of Hospice of the Western Reserve. With us, we have Eric Greenberg, our owner's rep, Evan Champagne, our architect, Bob Plona, our director of facilities, and Jennifer Arbuckle, our lead architect, as well as Jamie Schwartzberg, who is our landscape architect. Jennifer, do you want to take lead on discussion?
I can, yes. Sorry. I was trying to unmute myself. Excuse me. Excuse me. We have quite a pile of information here, so I am going to try to go through it quickly, and we have been before you before, so hopefully you'll have some memory of our previous conversation. So very quickly, some of this information. This shows the project site, which is located their current existing building is at the end of East 185th on the lake, and the site that's being proposed is adjacent to that. So if you move on to the next slide, please. So here you can see the red hatched area shows the project site. The adjacent to the site on the left, sort of lower left, is the residential neighborhood. And as you can see on the sort of top right, the Villa Angela St. Joseph High School is located on the corner of East 185th and Lakeshore Boulevard. And just above where the track is shown there, you can see the Hospice of Western Reserve, which is the existing building location. And so the goal is to build a new hospice house on the red hatched site. So if you move on to the next slide, please. You can see there are existing conditions in the neighborhood. It's a mix of residential and small commercial. So I think we could just sort of skim through these slides quickly. You can see the high school nearby, and maybe pause right there if you could. So this is the current site as it appears from Lakeshore Boulevard. So as you can see, much of what used to exist on the site and the buildings that originally gave it landmark status have been removed, and it's very green, and there's some trees, and it's essentially like this all the way from Lakeshore Boulevard to the lake. There is an existing driveway that starts adjacent to the high school and sort of loops around in a U shape and comes back out onto Lakeshore Boulevard, and we'll see that a little bit better in one of the views, I think, to come. So we can keep going. This is the end of that driveway. Yep, and then the residential neighborhood nearby. So this gives you an overview of the site. Lake Erie is on the left, Lakeshore Boulevard is on the right. The residential neighborhood that I mentioned is on the bottom of the screen. And at the top of the screen, you can see where the angle area is, where the high school is. And then off the screen entirely, but on the top right is where the existing hospice house is. So you can see that sort of U-shaped driveway that exists now that comes off of Lakeshore Boulevard and returns. And then you can see some remnants of other driveways and smaller pathways, excuse me, that exist on the site. And in the sort of middle bottom of the site, you can see the two buildings that we're talking about being removed, which are ancillary sort of auxiliary structures, a carriage house and a smaller cottage house that existed on the site. They were not the main attraction, but that's what's there now. And then you can see the driveway that sort of goes down to where the lake access is, and there's a concrete pathway that runs along the lakeside itself. So if we go to the next slide. This is our proposed site plan. It may be a little difficult to read, but let me walk you through it quickly. So our goal would be to use one of the curb cuts that exist along Lakeshore Boulevard, the top one that's closest to the high school. That would become the new primary entrance drive onto the site. As you can see, it would come along, and then you can see the parking in the middle of the site, the proposed parking lot, and then the front of the building, I guess you would call it, the main entrance, would be located facing Lakeshore Boulevard, and on the Lake Erie side of the building would be where all the patient rooms are. So this, I should back up for 1 second. So this is a hospice project. It is a one-story wood frame building meant to be residential in character. It is the mission of Hospice House, obviously, is to take care of those who are dying. So it was a big goal of our client to have all of the patient rooms with a lake view and facing the lake. So all of the patient rooms are arranged on that lake side of the building. There's a floor plan here that will show that a little bit more clearly. On the top, as you come onto the site and as you turn towards the main entrance, you can see there's a drive that goes off to the top side of the site. That would be where the delivery entrance and loading dock and sort of all of the back of the house support functions would be. And you can see there's a stormwater retention pond sort of just to the right of that driveway. I think we have some other drawings that will explain things in a little bit more detail. So if we could go to the next slide, perhaps. Yeah, this shows the stormwater management plan, which we can certainly talk about, but it's fairly straightforward. You know, things would go into the swale on either side of the driveway and beside the parking lot, and then into the stormwater retention pond, and then be filtered and before they go out to the lake. Next. The the floor plan. It's rotated 90 degrees from what we were just looking at. So in this version of the plan, the lake is on the top and Lakeshore Boulevard is on the bottom of the screen. And very, very briefly, you can see the purple areas are the patient rooms. As we said, they're all facing the lake. We looked at a couple of options, a two-story option, but from a staffing efficiency and just better atmosphere for the patients, we've landed on this option. We did condense the length of the building by sort of making these V-shaped wings so that we still maximize the views but keeping the building a little bit more efficient in footprint. The main entrance is sort of dead center on the bottom side of the building on the screen. And as you come into the main entrance, we have a big great room that faces out to the lake. It's flanked by two courtyards shown in white on either side. And then the other components of the building, really, the green areas are basically patient support areas, kitchens and clean and soiled utility rooms and that kind of stuff. The gray areas off to the right-hand lower right are mechanical, electrical, those kind of spaces, and that is where that loading dock receiving area is. On the left side of the screen on the bottom, the square on the bottom is the Center for Community Engagement. Grief counseling and bereavement services are offered there. It was important for the client that have its own entrance and be considered separate in terms of coming into the building from the main entrance so that families who have lost a loved one don't have to go through the entire hospice house to get to those kind of services. So it includes several kinds of meeting spaces and a large meeting room that the community can use that would be either three small ones or one larger room. If we go to the next slide. So we have some elevations here showing the proposed new construction. As I said, it's a long, low building. Our goal was to keep it very residential in character. So we're using residential looking materials and we're using some residential looking architectural elements to sort of maintain that. We have some images and a more detailed version in just a second. So if we go to the next slide. And maybe to the next one after that. So this shows an rendered image of what the building might look like. As I said, we're trying to use residential character and a variety of roof heights and configurations to evoke some character and not just have it be like a long, low, uniform looking building. This would be the main entrance, drop-off area and entrance. And the bereavement center for community engagement entrance is just off the screen to the left. If we go to the next slide. This shows you the materials that we're thinking about using and planning to use on the building. So asphalt shingle roofing with a standing seam roof edge, fiber cement siding with the same kind of trim and sort of a nice soft residential palette of colors, windows, cast stone, and then a limestone base, just to give it sort of a mixture of natural materials and making a place that looks welcoming and is comfortable for all people that might come to the building. Next, please. This shows the landscape plan. We have Jamie Schwartzberg here, and she can talk about it. I was going to sort of skim through everything, and then I thought if questions came up during the Q&A session that we could come back to some of these things. So the front sort of lower right area of the site where it says existing trees to remain on the Lakeshore Boulevard, none of that would change. Right now, the intent is to sort of go past, and we have located our building and the parking as close to the lake as possible to sort of preserve that park-like feel along Lakeshore Boulevard and also create some privacy for the building so that it's not right along the street edge. And obviously, as I said before, those lake views were sort of paramount for the purpose of the building. So if we go to the next slide. We have a series of slides here that talk about the different plants and trees that we would like to use. The goal is to use, you know, as many natural and sort of regional plantings that, you know, would be provide some color and interest in the landscape. Next. I don't want to gloss over these things, but I want to get to the part of the reason we're here. Next, please. Again, some more plants to show color and sensory, smell, all the good things that we would want in the garden spaces. I should just mention as we're scrolling through here, the current hospice house has quite a few gardens, many of which serve a memorial kind of purpose, and there are distinct purposes for those gardens, and those would all be coming over and being located around the perimeter of the new building as well. And there are some elements that exist at the hospice house that we would move over to the new building. So there's 3 greenhouses and some benches and binoculars to look at the lake. Next. We have a photometric plan of our planned lighting. The goal, of course, with all of our lighting is to make the building and its environment safe and secure. But also, so we focus the lighting on the parking, on the driveways. We obviously will be dark sky compliant, and we will obviously do our best to limit any light projection to just the areas required around the building, the lanes that serve the building, the fire lane that serves the building, and the parking and the main entrance drive, and limit any light that could affect the neighbors on either side. Next. We have a series of slides here that talk about the light fixtures that we're planning to use in more detail. I think we can skim through those. We wanted to make sure you had the information in front of you, and then we can answer any questions. We have approval from the Regional Sewer District for the project. Next. I should also mention while we're here that the zoning, you can see the zoning requirements for the property. It is split zone so that there's one family and multifamily. So obviously we are considering ourselves to be in the most restrictive of those 2 zoning districts. The building type is a conditional use on either of those. And so that is partly why we're here, is to receive the conditional use permit for the property. Next. Next. So this next series of slides show the landmark status file that you have in the city. You can see this is an old site plan. You can, some of these conditions still exist on the site, but really it's 2 buildings, yeah. And then you can see these buildings that you're seeing in the pictures were all gone and have been gone for a while now, but we're showing them just to give you an understanding of what was originally landmarked. So this building, if we can go to the next slide, and then you can see, yeah, we have a series of slides of what used to exist on the site. All of these things have been, yeah. So if we pause here for 1 second. So obviously this big globe was a very interesting condition on the site for a while, but it also has been gone for a long time. And what is remaining is on the next slide here. So we have these 2 buildings that we're asking to be removed so that we can do the new project. As you can see, they're still there. They have not been used in a long while other than for a little bit of storage, and they are in poor condition. I think when when the representatives from the Landmark Commission came out to visit the site in January, I think everyone sort of agreed that there are a few bits of things that can be salvaged. There are some elements here and there in the building, but the buildings themselves are in poor repair, and there's nothing sort of worth, this is your decision to make, but not worth keeping these buildings on the site. Next. One of the questions that came up before was a tree preservation plan, and so we have the whole report in here for you. I should have mentioned this maybe before in the landscape plan. I don't think we need to go back there, but we can certainly answer any questions about it. I think there are 94 trees that are being removed. Of those, more than about half of them are in poor condition or diseased or dying, and some are invasive species. And our intent is to replant 115 trees on the site to replace those trees. They are scattered all around the site, as you can see. But there's nothing terribly historic about what's there in terms of the trees. They're sort of, some of them may have been there for a long time, others may have just grown up over time. Next. Yeah, this is a long report. I don't know that we need to go through it, the whole thing, but so if we can sort of skim through. Okay, next. We did add some other existing photographs of the building to the presentation that we made last week to the local advisory committee, just to show you, there's, the buildings are not in great repair, and there's not a lot of historical or architectural significance to what remains here. So, as this letter sort of states, the Hospice of Western Reserve leadership has been working actively with Cayuga County Lakefront Access and to talk about the pathway right along the lake that borders the property, and have been talking even before we started meeting with you about creating some markers that talk about the history of the site. Maybe we would use some salvage bricks or some other elements that still remain to help create those markers, and that those would best be put along the public access path that runs along the lake. So that's part of this conversation that is still ongoing. And if we go to the next slide, I think there's a little bit more. So these are just two examples of what might be able to be put on those historical markers to talk about, what was there and how it was used. I think there's two different ones that we were thinking would be of interest to the city and any of the public that might be walking along the lake once that public access is fully created. So one would be about the sanitarium and the other would be about St. Joseph. And I think that might be all that we have to say. And of course, we're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Excellent. Thank you for the presentation. We'll then move on to Design Review Advisory Committee recommendations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This project was reviewed by the Greater Northeast Historic Design Review Advisory Committee on June 18th. They talked and asked a lot about the history of the site and kind of how the historic buildings, the historic building, main one is gone, but there's still how the land was used and how the landscape was accessed historically and how that was incorporated into the design, as well as kind of talking about possibly incorporating some of the original building or just some architecture, some elements of the original site into that public access area as they described, or just into the design in some way. with signage along the landscape path that they have. And what the committee eventually decided was they approved the demolition with a requirement for a salvage plan and interpretation for the history of the site based on the research that they have, and then approve the new construction with the site plan that incorporates the history to interpret and salvaged materials.
Excellent. Thank you for that summary. Before we move on to landmark staff recommendations, I'd like to recognize that the councilman is here. And Mr. Councilman, would you like to say any words before we continue on?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
And you can hope you can see me.
We can, thank you.
Okay. I am a strong advocate and supporter of the Hospice of the Western Reserve. I worked with them years ago for the construction of the new building and to purchase the former site, the present site, from the Catholic Diocese, the Marinus Brothers, their building that they're in now, and then also work with them on the acquisition of the Christian Life Center property. So in my opinion, they were a life preserver to come in and purchase this historic property along our lakefront. And their facility at present has been a godsend for our neighborhood, for families that are dealing with end of life situations for their loved ones. And I myself, I never realized at the time that several of my own family members would be taken care of by the hospice in their end of life days. So I am totally in support of this. They have met with the adjacent neighbors. They have gone out of their way as it pertains to the design of the new building to respect the neighbors and also to respect the lakefront. So I'm here to wholeheartedly support their efforts. For them to make this amount of this dollar amount investment in our community, again, is a indication of how strongly they feel about the neighborhood. And with VA St. Joe's next door, and Euclid Hospital and UH, we're hoping to create a campus concept there as we go forward. So again, I'm here. I'm not going to belabor the point. I'm here to support them 100%.
Excellent. Thank you, Councilman Plensick. Then move on to landmark staff recommendations.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. I mean, I guess the councilman summed it up well. We're in support of the project. We're very happy to see them staying in the neighborhood and finding new use for this once wonderful site that I guess has such a rich history. Regarding that, we're happy to see that there's discussion with the county on how the lakefront walkway will be treated and those historic markers. We would like to see a historic marker on Lakeshore Boulevard, maybe an Ohio historic marker or some sort of indicator that would let people know what had been there previously. Also, just wanted to note that the buildings, compared to what we often see for demolition, they're not in terrible shape. Certainly not past the point of being rehabable, but their context is completely gone. So, there's not much to preserve there. We have no issue with seeing them gone and feel that what they're being replaced with certainly outweighs any value that they have historically. Then just one further note, I think Ms. Arbuckle had mentioned conditional use and needing that being granted. That's a planning commission issue, so they will handle any use, conditional use, any of that zoning type stuff that is outside our purview. So we're here for our normal purposes, and like I said, staff supports both the demolitions and the new construction. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for that summary of your recommendations. We'll then open up the floor to the commission for questions and comments. Who would like to start us off? I guess I will start us off. I'm very familiar with this organization and this facility and the impact that they've had within the community of Greater Cleveland, not just the neighborhood itself. I think maintaining this function on the site is very commendable, and I think architecturally, I think it's a very nice building. Looks very similar to the one in Westlake, which I think will fit very well into this community. Actually, I don't think I had any. Could you go to materiality, Carl? Slide right there. Thank you. Nope, you had answered all of my. Oh, I think the only question that I had, yes, was I am assuming your asphalt shingle roofs are the main roofing elements, and the eaves, the smaller eaves would be the standing seam roof, or where is the standing seam roof being used?
Yeah, it would be around the perimeter of the whole roof, pretty much, like a 2-foot band or something around the perimeter. But the rest of the roof would be asphalt, yes.
Interesting. And is that a design feature why you are integrating both roofings on the main roof?
Yeah.
Design detail, is that why you're doing that?
Yeah, and also, so you can sort of see it along the edges of the roof here. I should say when there's an eave, it's at the bottom of, a sloped roof, I should say, not around, around the top of the gable or whatever, but you can sort of see it on the, so it is a design feature to add, yet another material to the building.
Interesting. I guess I personally, I don't object to it. I guess it's not the typical details we see around here. Usually it's on supporting, gables and so forth versus around the entire building. But I don't object to the detail. So overall, I think this is a beautiful building for a wonderful organization, and I'm in full support of the project. Other questions and comments from the commission? Mr. Strickland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree that this is a wonderful project and absolutely wonderful site. To see the site be repurposed with this wonderful facility is very commendable and exciting for the community. This detail that you were just referring to reminds me of what would be a typical internal gutter on a slate roof. Yes. And so I'm assuming that that's what that's meant to mimic.
It's a little bit of a nod to that, yes.
Yeah, that's the way I interpreted that.
Yep.
I agree with the design review committee's recommendation for salvaging any material from those demolished structures. I agree with staff that in a different context, we might be advocating for saving partially those structures, but given how the site will be repurposed, I can certainly support that demolition with salvaging any materials that might reflect the history of their use, and then displaying that somehow on the site to kind of convey what the history of the site represented. But very much in support of the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Strickland. Mr. Musson, I see your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I guess kind of following up on Mr. Strickland's point about the sort of nod to the internal box gutters. Staff was curious about the locations and the type of downspouts and gutters being proposed. I don't really see them, at least in this image, and just wanted to, I guess, clarify if there are, are they box gutters, or are they going to be just the standard K-style gutters tacked onto the eaves, and then kind of how are they handling downspouts, et cetera?
No, they'd be internal, and the downspouts will be, hidden in the architecture of the building.
Thank you for that information. Other questions and comments from the commission? Mr. Lozier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can we go to those trees?
Which one, Mr. Lozier?
The site plan that shows, I think it's part of the landscape portion.
The tree preservation plan or the
So
landscape
the
plan?
applicant, the landscape plan.
I was going to say, if you go to the landscape plan, I think we have the tree counts on there.
Yeah, this one here. Thank you. So you mentioned previously that this is a long, low building, and majority of the existing trees sort of are in the location of the footprint of the building. I appreciate that you're noting that 115 new trees are being installed. I think that's absolutely commendable. I just wanted to get an understanding of is the intent that the tree calipers be replaced in kind, or are we, because it seems like a lot of the existing trees are older, sort of larger old growth trees that have a much larger size and canopy sort of opportunity. And I just wanted to get a sense of sort of what the replacement plan is, and if it's meant to sort of create a similar canopy coverage of the site as what's currently there today.
I'm going to ask Jamie to chime in here. She's our landscape architect.
So the tree preservation ordinance requires a 1-for-1 replacement, so they don't require the caliper to be replaced. They just require a tree to be replaced for a tree. And then we are putting back a significant number of trees that will become canopy trees, but they're native trees now instead of invasive trees. So you can see kind of all the largest and medium-sized circles will all become canopy trees as they mature.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that clarification, and I appreciate replacing with native trees and not continuing some of the invasives that have become a problem. I think that was my only question, just understanding sort of how that was being handled. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lozier. Mr. Dulick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Definitely want to commend the applicant and reiterate and support my fellow commissioners' comments in support of this project. I think it's wonderful. Did want to take a quick look at the elevations, if we may. Go back another one, some of the longer elevations. Yeah, I think I really want to commend the attention to the detail and just the really loving sense of proportions of the smaller elements within the larger elements. It's a real challenge to make these long, low buildings wonderful, and I think you've done a great job. The one that does stand out to me a little bit is up there on the upper right. I think a lot of the strategies, which I noticed echoed some of the architecture, the combination hip gable forms of some of the buildings that were original to the site. I think that upper right one, if there's a possibility of looking at some of the treatments like you have on the lower left-hand side that does that combination hip gable, with the possibility of a smaller element in it, like some of the other elevations. I just think that considering that, other than that, I think the overall design and effect seems really wonderful, and really appreciate everything the hospice does. So, great project.
Thank you for your kind words. We always appreciate that. That elevation in particular that you're talking about is sort of the side wall of the Center for Community Engagement, and that big conference room is along that wall. So we have a few limitations in terms of making sure we have the proper doors coming out and that we have that big room sort of accommodated. But we take your comments in, and as we continue the design, we can do our best to look at that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dulick. Hearing fairly consistent support for the project, would someone like to make a motion? And we have two motions that we are looking for, one related to the demolition, and then the next would be related to the new construction.
This is Alan. I'll make the motion to allow the demolition.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
Madam Chair, I second the motion.
Thank you, Dr. William. We have a motion. We have a second. Any further discussion? All right, not seeing any hands go up. Mr. Musson, please call roll.
All right, thank you. Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Dryer,
Yes.
Mr. Dulick,
Yes.
Director Wong,
Yes.
Mr. Lozier,
Yes.
Mr. Strickland,
Yes.
Mr. Trasick,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Yes.
and Ms. Trout.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
All right, excellent. Then we are looking for a motion next related to the proposed design. Would someone like to make a motion?
This is Alan. I'll make the motion to approve the design as presented. And I don't know if there are any conditions. I don't think so.
The conditions that were stated from the design review committee and staff was to develop a salvage plan and incorporate historical markers within the site and along Lakeshore Boulevard. And that could be taken to staff. Do
Okay.
you agree to that condition?
Yes. Yes.
I believe that was the only one that I noted. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Madam Chair, I second.
Thank you, Mr. Dulick. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. Mr. Musson, please call roll.
All right, Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Dryer,
Yes.
Mr. Dulick,
Yes.
Director Wong,
Yes.
Mr. Lozier,
Yes.
Mr. Strickland,
Yes.
Mr. Trasick,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Yes.
and Ms. Trout.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Excellent. Well, congratulations and good luck with your project.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
That concludes our certificates of appropriateness. We'll now move on to meeting minute approvals. We have one meeting minute that was circulated from June 13th, 2024. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the meeting minutes, or would someone like to make a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the minutes from June 13th, 2024 as written.
Thank you, Mr. Strickland. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Madam Chair, I second the motion.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Any further discussion?
This is Joyce Wong. I quickly wanted to note to the staff, I know there was like a quick edit that I had provided to the staff for the minutes where the word support was missing from one of the cases. Is that included in this version?
Through the chair, yes, yeah, we can include that.
Okay, great.
Make that note and include that in the final version before it becomes a PDF.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Director Wong. Any further discussion? All right, Mr. Musson, please call roll.
All right, Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Dryer,
Yes.
Mr. Dulick,
Yes.
Director Wong,
Yes.
Mr. Lozier,
Yes.
Mr. Strickland,
Yes.
Mr. Trosick,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Yes.
and Ms. Trot.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Excellent. Then we'll move on to administrative reports.
Not too much, just, City Hall's still kind of recovering from the cyber attack, so we appreciate everyone's flexibility. And next meeting is July 11th. We'll let you know a little closer to that if it's going to be, back to our normal hybrid, or if we'll be doing full virtual or in person, or what the game plan is a little closer to, because we're still kind of playing it by ear, but we do appreciate everyone's flexibility.
Excellent. And I will read that email next time. All right. Well, excellent. Then we will adjourn today's meeting and see everyone in a few weeks. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Happy 4th of
Thanks,
July.
everyone.
Happy 4th of July.
Yes.